Hi scholars, Miss Luna here, and today I'm here to read you guys a super cool, fun book. Today we're going to be reading Little Red Riding Hood. So, Little Red Riding Hood is a fairy tale. Yeah, that's right, it's a fairy tale. Now, before we went on break, we were kind of talking about fairy tales, and we learned our fairy tale chant. It's okay if you don't remember it. I'm about to go over it right now. So right now, just sit and watch me. So, fairy tales are stories that begin with once upon a time and have good and evil characters and have a happy ending. All right, and now we're going to say it all together. Got fairy tale chant, get ready, go. Fairy tales are stories that begin with once upon a time and have good and evil characters and have a happy ending. Nice job, scholars. So today when we're reading Little Red Riding Hood, we're really going to be focusing on the characteristics on that's right, the characteristics of a fairy tale. So, how we know that we are reading a fairy tale? Right now, I want everyone to take a couple seconds to themselves and think. Think, how do I know that this is fairy tale? That this is a fairy tale? All right, and you can go ahead and shout out your answers. That's right. All right, so we know that we're reading a fairy tale if it begins with once upon a time, have good or evil characters, and have a happy ending. And if you said any of those three answers, say, way to go, us. Nice job. We also know that we're reading a fairy tale because it has a problem. That's right, it always has a problem within the story. So that's another characteristic of a fairy tale. All right, so today when I'm reading, I really want us to be focusing on those characteristics of a fairy tale. All right, let's start. Little Red Riding Hood. A long time ago, there lived a sweet little girl who was thoughtful and kind and loved to visit her grandmother. Her grandmother enjoyed the visit so much that she gave the little girl a special present. She sewed the girl a wool cape with a hood. It was the girl's favorite color, a wonderful cherry red. The girl liked her cape so much that she wore it everywhere. First, she wore it to the village store. Then she wore it to visit her cousins on the other side of the village. She even wore her cape to bed. Soon, everyone called her Little Red Riding Hood. One day, Little Red Riding Hood's mother said, "Your grandmother isn't feeling well." "I'll go visit her," said Little Red Riding Hood, "and I'll take her a picnic." "What a good idea," said Little Red Riding Hood's mother, "and be sure to stay on the path through the woods." Little Red Riding Hood promised that she would, and she packed a basket with her grandmother's favorite foods and set off. Little Red Riding Hood skipped down the long, winding path as she always did on her visits, and she was very careful to always stay on the path. After a while, she met a wolf. Oh, so right now we're going to pause really quickly, and I want to ask you guys a question. So start thinking to yourselves, what kind of character is Little Red Riding Hood? What kind of character is Little Red Riding Hood? And if you have your answer right now, you can go ahead and shout it out. Yeah, so Little Red Riding Hood is a good character. If you said good character, give yourself a pat on the back. Awesome. So we know that Little Red Riding Hood is a good character because in our story, remember we always need to cite our evidence. In the story, it says, one day Little Red Riding Hood's mother said, "Your grandmother isn't feeling well." "I'll go visit her," said Little Red Riding Hood, "and I'll take her a picnic." So we know that Little Red Riding Hood is a good character because she's trying to make her grandmother feel better even though she isn't feeling very well. So that's how we know that she's a good character. All right, let's continue reading. "Hello," said the wolf. Little Red Riding Hood knew she shouldn't talk to the wolf, but he seemed friendly. "Hello," she said. "Where are you going this fine day, little girl?" asked the wolf. "I'm going to visit my grandmother," said Little Red Riding Hood. "She isn't feeling well, so I'm bringing her this picnic with her favorite food." "And where does your grandmother live?" asked the wolf. "At the end of this path." A sly grin came over the wolf's face. He knew that if he ran up the hill, he'd get to the grandmother's house before Little Red Riding Hood. "I'll gobble up that old lady and the little girl," he thought, smacking his lips. "And I'll gobble up that tasty picnic too." Ooh. So scholars, right now we're going to pause really quickly. I'm going to ask you another question. So start thinking to yourselves. Start thinking. What kind of character is the wolf? What kind of character is the wolf? And how do you know? Take a couple of seconds to think about it. All right, if you have your answer, you can go ahead and shout it out. Yeah. So if you said that the wolf is an evil character, you're right. Nice job. Say, "I'm a smart cookie." So we know that the wolf is an evil character because in our story, it says, "I'll gobble up the old lady and the little girl," he thought, smacking his lips, "and I'll gobble up that tasty picnic too." So we know that the wolf is an evil character because he's trying to eat the grandmother and Little Red Riding Hood. So that's telling us in our story that he's not that very nice of a person, that he's the evil character in our fairy tale. Nice job, scholars. "Look at all the flowers growing in the woods," said the crafty wolf. "Why don't you pick some for your grandmother? Pretty flowers will make her feel even better." "Good idea," said Little Red Riding Hood. The prettiest flowers were far from the path, but Little Red Riding Hood thought it would be all right to leave the path just this once. When she turned to pick some flowers, the wolf ran straight to the grandmother's house. Oh, and we're going to stop reading there for today. We'll finish reading the rest of the book tomorrow. But before we go, I want to ask you guys one more question. And when you're answering this question, I want you to be using your race response. I want you to use your, that's right, I want you to use your race response. So remember, you always have to restate your question. You have to, then you have to answer the question. You have to, then it's always important to cite your evidence. You need to, and then explain your evidence. You need to. Awesome. So using your race response, I want you guys to try to answer this question on a piece of paper. So right now, I want you guys to answer the question, what is the problem in our story right now? What is the problem in our story right now? So pausing after where we left off, what is the problem? And I want you guys to try to answer that using your race response. All right, scholars. Well, I was really glad that I was able to read today. Come back tomorrow so you can read the rest of the story. Bye, scholars.